But we do go to Ireland. Week 0 is among us, Kansas State and Iowa State. Our first preview of the season. Oh, my God, we're here. I love it so much. Joe, oh, damn, I called you by your first government name. What do you think going into Iowa State and Kansas State? How do you think this one plays out?
I'm really excited that this game is going to feature a really exciting rivalry between two pretty evenly matched teams. On FanDuel, the over-under is set at 49.5. Kansas State is a 3.5-point favorite. I really like Kansas State to win this ballgame, Blake. I really think that they will. And I won't steal from you an interesting piece to this breakdown. I'll let you bring it up. But
thank you.
My main focus on this is knowing Avery Johnson coming back into this season, showing us highs and lows of last year of what he could be. Knowing that he is a tremendous runner and that they've got a decent offensive line coming back with not great experience, but enough to feel like they'll be able to pave some lanes for him and for Dylan Edwards, who didn't get a ton of touches last year, but was still a spark plug in relief of DJ Giddens. I am having a lot of trouble buying into Iowa State because, frankly, I don't know if I can trust Rocco Becht without Jaden Higgins and Jalen Knoll. And I think that this is a very legitimate concern to bring up when talking about this game because he just had two of the better wide receivers in the 2025 NFL draft who were darlings of the draft process that were brought up a ton and went on to be day 2 picks. He will not have those guys. Their next best returning players did not go over 200 receiving yards last year. This is not a circumstance of losing one guy or losing 2 guys with decent production. We're talking about the only tandem in college football last year that had over 1,000 yards apiece. Like that to me is the big circle that I'm putting on this preview of can Rocco Becht step up to the challenge of having completely new receivers and also losing a number of his offensive linemen that were there last year.
All right. This time a year ago, I came out here and we previewed a game in West Virginia and Penn State. Blake, where in the hell are you going with this? And Garrett Green, the quarterback of West Virginia, had been a career 53% percentage guy. Okay. West Virginia fans got so mad. They attacked me. They attacked my children. They attacked my wife. They attacked everything because I said the guy's a career 53% percentage guy. First 4 games he played, Joe, guess what his career percentage was in those 4 games? We talked about it on this show, 53%. You got those receivers that are out of the building. You got a game against Kansas State last year with those receivers. He went 13 of 35 in that game. He missed 13 straight passes, 13 to end the game. A horrible performance. I don't know with what they are replacing at wide receiver. You got Sewell, you got Townsend that are coming in. Joe, I don't know enough about them that I could come out here and confidently say that I don't think they can ultimately replace that level of production. I don't know if those 2 young men are good enough to replace that, but can Rocco Becht take the next step? Joe, the biggest thing about quarterback play for me, I tell you this every year in the beginning of the season, and we talk about this. I will stay with a kid and let him grow if every single year that percentage keeps climbing. Rocco Becht was a 59% completion percentage guy a year ago with one of the more dynamic wide receiver rooms in the country, and we both believe that. The problem is, I agree with you, is that they are in a situation where I don't know if I trust him enough either. I do think he's got the talent. I think he's got the skill set. I think he could do a lot of really good things. I don't know if I've seen Rocco Becht step up in big moments, in big opportunities when it's mattered. Arizona State, Kansas State a year ago, a lot of different situations that he needed to take over and he couldn't. Now, when I look at Kansas State, on the other hand, and why I do lean them, Joe, they did go out and get some receivers with production. They went out and got They went out and got Tibbs. They went out and got Bradley. And you talked about their offensive line. Joe, they got 6 seniors along their offensive line. One of them's going to lose their job. Sorry. I mean, it's the way of the beast. But you mentioned somebody in there where I'm really leaning my hat on in Edwards. 7.4 yards per carry a season ago. Can he take over, and can that running game continue to be as dominant as we've seen Kansas State do in the past? But, Joe, I come down to this. Both of these quarterbacks have had issues in games where games have been on the line, and when they've needed to throw the ball, they can't do it, and they can't do it at a high level. The team in this game that runs the ball the most effectively, here we go again, that runs the ball and plays some time of possession and defensively can hold up, I think will come out in the way of a win. You can't get in a shootout if you're Kansas State or Iowa State, because I don't know if you have enough faith. If you got to rely on either one of these right shoulders to get you there, it's not going to work. Now, last thing, I have been what some would say critical of Avery Johnson. I'm not critical. What I'm saying is that I don't know if he can lead you to a win in a close game, which is, I don't care when on the road against a team that you've seen a lot. You better establish the run game. Now, Joe, I thought they got better at the end of the year with some things. I thought they were more explosive. The turnovers have got to come down. Bottom line, they have got to come down. If you let Rocco Becht, and I don't care who he's got around him, if you keep giving them opportunities, you're going to be wondering on that plane ride home how you lost. I lean Kansas State because I trust their defense more, and I do trust their running game more. But this VJ Payne kid can play now. He can play. Joe, the top 5 of the top 6 guys defensively in tackles last year from Kansas State return. Can they develop and take the next step will be the ultimate key here.
So one big thing that you brought up, and then I've got a couple of other points I want to bring in to at least make a little bit of a case for Iowa State. Going into this preview, I didn't look at what Rocco Becht's completion percentage was because I assumed it was good. I just let everybody's –
oh, it's bad.
The way that everybody talked about him, it made me think that it was fine. When I watched Jalen Knoll and Jaden Higgins as draft prospects for the 2025 draft, I did make a note of how it felt like a lot of times both of those guys were bailing him out. Misfires, ball placements all over the place. They had to make not crazy hard catches, but because they're so talented, they made typical throws that most receivers would not catch look easy because they were just so gifted. That to me is a huge concern. If you're hovering around if you were under 60% last year with those two guys, it's a problem. And I don't want to hear any Iowa State fans go and point out that Avery Johnson was weak last year as well, because they had practically the same touchdown to interception ratio. Rocco Becht, 25-9. Avery Johnson, 25-10. 58.3% completion percentage. Do you know what the difference is between those two?
One can run.
One can run, and one is one of the best runners in college football. And I think that he and DJ Giddens are going to create a very dynamic rushing attack between the two of them.
You mean Edwards?
Sorry, Dylan Edwards. Dylan Edwards is what I meant to say. I think he and Dylan Edwards are going to be a really dangerous combo in this game. For Iowa State's defense, and why they can run the ball, to your point, and I agree, I think that this is going to be a duke it out, lower scoring game, because oftentimes that soccer pitch is not really great for airing it out and for a bunch of big plays. It's very slow. It's a very slow field. I would take the under on that 49.5. Carson Hansen is a massive running back that they're bringing back at 6'2", 220. And on top of this, their defensive line, I give a lot of credit, is led by one of the most underrated nose tackles in college football in Dominique Orange. He is a behemoth. He is going to be one of these guys that gets drafted super early next year. He is one of the most unique prospects that I've watched because he's got like this Dexter Lawrence size and he reads screens and he hawks them down. Go watch his film. He hawks down screen passes. So Dylan Edwards needs to be watching his back. Otherwise, he's going to get caught by a big 330-pound grown-ass man in Dominique Orange. They also, it's worth noting, Iowa State has arguably the best returning linebacker unit They also bring back 105 starts on their offensive line. So those are the big benefits for me for Iowa State and the case to be made for them if they do manage to win this ball game. But I stand very firmly with you. Team that runs the ball better because both quarterbacks, they spray it all over the place. They're not very consistent. I'm going with the team with the better runner at quarterback. Just like last year in Ireland, we watched the team with the better runner take over.
Oh, and they took over big time.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that I want to point out to you on a couple of notes here. The last time that these two teams played was on November the 30th. No, that's right. November the 30th, 2024. Iowa State would win 29-21. Rocco Becht had one of his worst games. The problem in that, now Avery Johnson would actually have just as bad of a game. He went 12 of 28 with 3 touchdowns. The thing that I would bring up in that game that's interesting to me, you brought up the point of the team that will play better defensively and run the ball will win. Iowa State literally won by 8 points because they ran for 187 yards in that game. Sama had 81 yards in that game rushing. You look at what Hansen did, and you look at what Rocco Becht did, even with his legs to some extent, to wind up winning that game. The problem that I have here is I think Kansas State goes in there and out physicals them. I know you talked about Orange, and I agree with you there. I think that every time that I've seen an Iowa State team like get with a team like Kansas State that just come out there and punch you in the mouth, they don't respond well. Now, that Kansas State game was on the road. That Iowa State game with Kansas State was in Iowa last year. Joe, you better come out there running the football at a high rate. Here's another question I have for you. And to your point on Iowa State and why they could win, are we ready for Edwards to take the load at running back? Because with this offense, I don't know if he can take the load that you saw a year ago. I mean, Joe, they had a running back with 250 attempts last season. I mean, like that's a massive pause, but it's also a massive load to take on a running back with his size. Is somebody else in that running game going to be able to figure it out? Now, Orange is a big thing. That's why I got him circled in here too. You better run away from him. You better run away from him. You better not go right at him. You better get away because he's going to clog the middle. But, Joe, that's not really their game either with Avery. They'll want to get outside and they'll want to do some special things outside and see if they can use some speed too. Last thing. Remember last year how bad the turf was?
Yeah,
Remember how it was so awful? Remember, like everybody was falling around and everybody was like the field.
And I think there was rain leading up to the game or something like that. So I'd be curious to pay attention to what's happening there.
The more physical team just went in there and punched somebody in the mouth. I'm going to lean Kansas State. I just think at the end of the day, I don't know if I can trust Rocco Becht and company to get this one done.
I want to just revisit the Dylan Edwards comment that you just made there. He had, up until the bowl game, he didn't have more than 8 carries in a football game. The whole year. It was 6, 8. He had as low as 3 in one game. But I got to give him credit and why I'm pretty high on it. I'm not saying that he explodes in week 1, but in the bowl game after DJ Giddens moved on, they played Rutgers. He rushed for 196 yards and 2 touchdowns, as well as a 3rd touchdown as a receiver. So I think that gives us a nice little scope of, hey, if we gave this kid 25 carries, one, can he withstand it? He's a small, compact kid. He's 5'9", like 170, 180. But at the same time, I think that he could. I just think that they got to be creative with getting him the ball in space and not trying to run him the same way that they were running DJ Giddens.
That's fair. Now, again, does Joe Jackson, does Antonio Martin, who you brought in, can they help carry that load? And Joe, quite honestly, when you look at Kansas State, they brought in Tibbs, they brought in Bradley, they brought in Medford, they brought in Davis, all at receiver. I mean, there comes a time in question that I ask here. I mean, you brought in a tackle too in Fitzpatrick. Does he win it? Does Enos win it? I don't know. But here's the question that I have for Kansas State and why I'm just a little timid on them too. Man, you're getting with a situation with a quarterback in Avery Johnson that I don't trust as a passer, and how much connection can he have with these receivers? If you got to go down there and get 7 and it's a minute 30 left on the clock, can he get the ball down the field to score? I got to be real with you. If I'm Iowa State, I'm going out there trying to score 28 and say, catch up with us. I swear to God, I'm just throwing the ball all over the place and just saying, hey, Avery, go score 28. And it's funny, they won 28, 29, 21 a season ago. It's all I'm doing, Joe, really. I mean, because I don't know if they can do it. Avery Johnson's got to show me that he can do that. I love him as an athlete, but you can be a really good athlete and a horrible quarterback. And I don't know if he's a horrible quarterback, but Joe, think about the BYU game a year ago. It's not skill set, it's decision making. Those turnovers are decision making stuff. Now you're going into year 2 as a starter. Do you clean that up? Because if you don't clean that up, y'all going to go back exactly where you were a season ago. Every team that was turnover prone and had high expectations, guess where they were at the end of the year? Not where they wanted to be. I think of LSU. I think of Penn State late in the year. I think of Georgia. I think of all these quarterbacks that were high turnover prone. I mean, hell, Kyle McCord threw 5 picks against Pitt. Joe, if they don't throw 5 picks against Pitt, they're a 10-2 team. They're a 10-2 team, and we're talking about Syracuse and Fran Brown and the ACC knocking on the door. You better clean this up, or Iowa State's going to pull one on you.
Right. I think that we do need to see some better decision-making, and I think the biggest part for unlocking that success, and why I thought that he looked a lot more comfortable in his true freshman season when he started playing at the end, I want to see him as a runner. I want to see him impact the game as much as possible as a runner. I think a guy like him with his athleticism, the way that he starts to fit into the rhythm of the game is when he starts to make big plays, when they're running read option, when there's just direct designed runs with him keeping the rock. They have a chance to be a team, I think, that rushes for 200, 250 plus per week. I'm not trying to say that they don't have any receivers, but you don't really need to try and be so aggressive throwing the ball. You have a unique opportunity with such a gifted runner at quarterback that you can really, really threaten defenses by giving him chances. So that to me is where you can avoid some of those turnover problems like you're talking about. Avery Johnson needs to protect the football. And to reiterate what we said at the beginning, that to me is a significant edge because he's a vastly better athlete than Rocco Becht is.
I'm going to say this and you're going to get mad at me, but please try to understand where I'm coming from. Avery Johnson needs to prove this coaching staff right. You benched a guy that won a national title a year ago. And I understand that he also made some quote unquote bad decisions. He didn't make that many bad decisions. Not as many as Avery Johnson did a season ago. Joe, all right. Here's a crazy thing. I'm in a place with Avery Johnson where I feel like that if you put him up against all the quarterbacks in the country and you just said, hey, everybody's got the same level of decision making, I don't know if he's not one of the top dudes from an athlete perspective that I wouldn't take. Really. It's just that when you got the rock in your hand in crucial situations, you have to hit it. I do need to point out one thing about Kansas State. Defensively, I thought they got punched in the mouth late in the year, and if they need to respond there too. The first couple of seasons under a new regime, I felt like they came out and just kept punching everybody in the mouth. You need to get back to that because your culture doesn't need to be fractured because of a couple of seasons. So I'm going to go Kansas State here, man. Kansas State in the points. Give them to me.
Yeah, I'm taking Kansas State too. I'm taking them -3.5 on FanDuel. I will gladly take that.
I'm just going to tell you this. If our first pick of the season, both of us going Kansas State and they lose, we're never talking about Avery Johnson and Kansas State ever again. I'm just going to go ahead.
If they lose, they're going to be out of the national conversation. So, yeah, we won't have much of a reason to talk about it.
Do you remember how sidebar, do you remember how many people overreacted because Georgia Tech, like the Georgia Tech game a year ago, and then we're like, man, Georgia Tech might be something. And then they lost a couple games, but then they came back, and then they're in 5 overtimes with Georgia. you can learn a lot in week 0, baby.
Yeah. Well, and the other part about that too is that I don't think we properly reacted. We didn't react enough to Florida State, and we overreacted a little bit to Georgia Tech. But the Georgia Tech overreaction was impacted by injuries to Haynes King and Jamal Haynes. So they had a rough stretch because they were dealing with injuries. But we should have known. I mean, we should have known that Florida State was going to be a 2-win team by the way that they played. I don't think that people were shocked, and I think people hoped that it was just Georgia Tech was really good and nobody thought it was coming.
You're in a different country. You got a lot of things going on.
Right.
I mean, but here's the thing though. Even though they lost, I never thought they were going 2-10.
Well, that's my point, is that they couldn't throw the ball. They couldn't complete passes. They couldn't move the ball down the field. We should have known that DJU was cooked. And that he wasn't going to get the job done.
Hold on. Timeout. We tried to warn everybody that he wasn't going to be good.
I didn't know he was going to be that bad. I thought that he would have been like mediocre.
Well, and goes to a point, did you see people, speaking of DJU, overreacting to his preseason game? So like the same people were overreacting to Shador's preseason game.
Well, there's a pretty big difference between
I get it, but
how Shador played and how DJ Uyunglele played.
Okay. Shador still went 12 of 23. He still went 50% against a third-team defense. Can we calm down?
I thought his performance was great. I broke down his tape.
Of course you thought it was great. No great performance comes on 50% completion percentage. Sorry.
He didn't have Wait, you're saying DJ or Shador?
Shador. Didn't he go 12 of 23?
Let me check. No, he was better than that.
No, he wasn't.
He was better than that.
No, he wasn't.
14 of 23, 60%, 61%.
Okay. I was off one. Excuse me.
By the way, shout out to everybody that's in here not watching that stupid New Heights show.
Oh my God.